Yellow. How we doing, y'all? I'm with the wife today.
What up?
Now, today, what's going to be going on and what's going to be had at the gym is chest and tricep day. You know, originally, it was going to be yesterday, but my palm was still hurting after like a week and a half, and I decided, hey, maybe I should not, do the things that are potentially going to harm the, same thing. So if it hurts again today, I'm not going to call it quits, obviously. I'm just going to do flies, which don't hurt. But what I'm going to be doing is my pressing movements, I'm just going to have my thumb out, which, I don't know how that exactly works, but basically just allows me not to use that kind of thick padded part of my palm because it's the meaty part right there. So when you're pressing, it's just like, it's all kind of right there-ish when you're doing it. But for the lift today, we're going to be doing some flat kind of, it's the kind of unilateral kind of flat, like chest, like free weight press. We're going to Planet Fitness, so you guys know what I'm talking about. But hopefully, in the near future, Planet Fitness at this location is going to be adding like some barbell free weight stuff, because if that becomes the case, your boy is going to be doing some incline benching at Planet Fitness, which, if you guys don't know how I work, I love me some free weight benching. Incline, not benching. That kind of stuff is crap, in my opinion. I mean, some people grow off of it, but the only thing I grow from it is injuries, and I don't want to have injuries in my lifting career, especially being at a young age. So if I know it gives me injuries now, imagine when I'm 40 or 50 or 60. How is that going to translate? I'm going to have shoulder problems and probably have to get shoulder surgery, or I'm going to have no mobility when I'm older because everything hurts. So, to prevent that, I'm going to stretch and not do the movements that hurt. I'm not going to let my ego get in the way and say, I'm just going to bench because I want a high bench. Well, if it hurts, it hurts, and, don't do that. Because I was doing it for a while, and it hurt me every time, and I would be like, I don't have shoulder pain constantly. Well, it's because you're benching, and your body doesn't want that, idiot. But on other terms of the lift today, it's going to be, like I said, that little free weight kind of flat bench, then to a fly of some sort, probably the pec deck, and then one more fly, maybe like an upper chest kind of fly, because we need one at least upper pec movement. I usually like to have 2 or 3 upper pec movements, and then I'm gonna just go from there. But for triceps, same as usual, tricep push-ups with the easy bar, and then 1 or 2 more movements for triceps, and then I might do shoulders today. Potentially I probably will, which will just be some side delt work, maybe a little front delt work, which would just include a front raise, which is the exact same thing as a lateral raise essentially, but instead of having it at the side, you're doing it right in front of you with either a neutral or a whatever this grip is. So we'll go from there. But it's kind of just a thing I like to feel. So if I feel as if a pec deck is going to be the best thing for me that day, I might just do 5 sets of pec deck and then just call it there. I'm not going to force myself to do too much variety. The only reason why a lot of people do variety on their movements is just because they get bored, to be honest, more times than not. And I'm still overcoming that, getting bored on one certain movement, because sometimes I'm like, wow, I really, love, like the flat bench press or whatever. And then I'm like, man, it's really working, but after 4 sets, I don't really want to do this anymore. I want to move on to another movement. Well, if you're getting a good contraction, a good pump, I wouldn't see why not. And there's like nobody at the gym. I hope it's open. So we're gonna get in there.
All right. So first, what we're gonna be doing is a pressing movement for the mid-lower chest. This move is just really good because it's unilateral too, which is just like one arm at a time kind of thing. But we're going to be turning heavy. We're going to be turning around the 4 to 10 rep range. I did 3 sets. Go slow on the way down, explode on the way up, and do some partials at the end to really get the most out of the movement. Now what we're going to be doing again is for the mid chest. And we're just going to be trying to touch our elbows in together and just really squeezing that movement, and just go slow on the way back to get a really good stretch. Don't go too far back or you use a lot of your front delts, so just do it where it's comfortable at. Train some partials at the end, train to failure, and I did 2 sets of this today. And at the end, when you're doing failure, you can kind of lean forward in the seat, but you'll get more front delt and a little bit of more upper chest activation that way. Now to finish it off for chest, we just got a low to high fly, then straight into a high to low kind of pressing kind of fly movement. But this is really just to get the upper chest now that we worked on that lower chest now. But we're going to be turning light and just really squeezing at the top. Make sure you're going slow and controlled. And I trained around the, I think it was 5 to 15 reps for this. And I did only 2 sets.
Okay.
Now we're going to do triceps, and we're going to be doing easy bar first. Pretty much just train heavy as you can with optimal form, keeping your elbows in. And at the top, you can go a little bit up to get more of a stretch. That's what I always see Vom said when he did his tricep extension, so that's where I got that from. But train to failure and add some partials at the end. I trained 3 sets of this day. Now we're just going to be hitting triceps again. Just going to get a really good squeeze at the top. Pretty much just keeping your elbows in again. Just that's pretty much the essential part of triceps when you're doing that movement. And we're just, like I said, going to be squeezing top, going moderate on the weight, and just keep your form strict. Now for the last movement, we're just going to be doing another rope board, but instead of overhead, it's just straight down. This is really just to get a pump, keep your form strict, and yeah, that's really it. Just 1 set of this today, and I think I did 9 reps or 6 reps or whatever it was.
Hello. What is going on? It was a good session today. My main purpose was what I've been doing. Can't see anything, it's so foggy. Sorry if you can't hear me real quick. But what I've been doing a lot lately for like the last 4, when I started bulking mainly, so I was gonna say 4 months, but well, even then, what I've been doing a lot in my training was I would obviously get mind-muscle connection for when I was working out. And if you guys don't know what that is, so if you're a beginner or whatnot, pretty much it's just the muscle that you feel working. When you flex your bicep, you have mind-muscle connection through your bicep. So what I'm saying is, a lot of the training that I was doing for a while, some of the sets, I would feel it afterwards, especially. But like I never got like a really good pump when I did a lot of stuff, because either I maybe used momentum or I just wasn't doing them super strict or something, right? But what I did today was I really tried to feel the muscle that I was working on today. And I gotta say, solid. I mean, the only really difference is when I'm doing my sets, I kind of noticed what I was doing before, but I really didn't think of it. I would move a lot during my sets. Like a tricep push down, I would move, or like just then when I was doing like those rope overhead, I was really trying to be strict with the movement instead of trying to, you know, kind of get the weight up in a way. I would still get that mind muscle connection on my set, but I wouldn't get that, like, you know, that whole kind of contraction that I really was talking about and needed. So I figured out I didn't really even have to lower the weight much, but it's just like a tiny bit, like a 5% decrease in the weight, which is like, you know, whatever. And then I just kind of I kind of changed how much I'm doing on my reps, on my sets. And I mean, I gotta say, I kind of enjoy the higher rep scheme, like the 8 to 15 reps, only because you're able to get a better contraction when you do that, I think. Because you can do heavy weights, 1 to 3, but it's like, how much of that are you really going to get the contraction on? I know, like, I mentioned him a lot, like Elijah Mundy. He's like, why can't you just do like 2 reps? What's the difference? And I don't think there's necessarily really a difference, because those last reps are truly what gives you strength and size. But when you're doing those reps, the first, like, let's say you do 8 reps in a set. If you don't feel anything, you're going too heavy, I think, right? But if you feel a good amount of mind muscle connection, if you feel a pump afterwards, I think what you're doing is correct, right? Obviously, you need a progressive overload. So if you're doing, say you're doing 30-pound curls, you want that mind muscle connection. And let's say you've been training for 5 months that way, and you're still on 30 pounds, don't you think what you're doing is a little wrong? Because if you're not increasing in strength, or at least in form, like if your form looks the exact same, and the weight's the exact same for 5 months, you might have to switch up some type of training. Because even if, you know, the weight isn't moving, you'll at least see something in your form, right? Because if you go up in weight constantly, you're going to see a decrease in form, right? If you're trying to build muscle, form is one of the most important things you can have, right? Even if you're trying to get strength, form is one of the most important things. Powerlifters, if you start going too heavy constantly over and over again, you're probably going to get injured in the long run, right? You might be doing 225 on bench, pretty sloppy, right? And then you keep doing that in multiple sets, and you're like, okay, I've been doing 225. You think you've been really doing 225, but you've just been bouncing in off your chest and all this type of crap, flaring your elbows out. And then you do something like you go up to 275. You're like, okay, I could do 275, I bet. You do that exact same form you were doing on 225, and you tear your shoulder because your form was crap. And I'm not saying that you need to be perfect form every set, every rep, every time you do something. If you want to try a little more weight, that's fine. Go all ahead. Go all out in that set. But I will say this. Find a weight and perfect it. That's what Phil Heath said. And he is huge. He won Mr. Olympia, I think, like 4 or 6 times or whatever. Listen to those guys. Don't listen to one guy's advice always either. I will say that. Don't listen to just Phil Heath's advice. You know, because, you know, I'm going to say this, a lot of the guys who are up there have a certain thing they want to sell to you. I think you know that, and they're going to tell you something because they're absolutely huge, and you might just believe it because, you know, they're monsters. That's not always the case. So take what you can get from each person to person, put that in your own training, and then kind of correlate it to what you like and don't like. If you love ego lifting, by all means, man, do whatever you want, do whatever you like. But I would say moderately ego lift. I've said this in one of my kind of brain rot posts, but it's honestly, I really mean it, scientifically ego lift. That doesn't mean go out there and go bananas on the weights and go caveman ape style mode, but, you know, push yourself. Don't be neglectful towards your gains. That's all I'm gonna say, y'all. But I'll see y'all in the next video. I hope you guys have a very blessed day. Good night. And I'll see y'all in the next one. Also, when this video comes out, Happy Merry Christmas Eve. I think that's how you say it. Or Happy Merry Hanukkah Eve or something. Bye-bye.